Hi, my name's Paul Arnold and I'm a qualified counselling psychotherapist. But before that I spent 27 years in the advertising world. But now I specialise in relationships. I specialise in relationships on the individual and relationships with teams and groups. And I want to share with you some learnings that inform the work I do in helping to build high-performing agency-client relationships. And I'm going to be bringing learnings from personal relationships, from what I've seen in the therapy room. And I'm going to demonstrate how those learnings apply in agency-client relationships. So I want to talk now about how do you know you found the right agency-client partnership. So a friend of mine has finished with one partner and she's now engaging with another man. And she's like saying to me, oh, you know, how do I know he's Mr. Right, and is this going to be the long term, and you know, all that stuff. And I'd say, look, I can promise you this, he isn't Mr. Right, because Mr. Right doesn't exist. And let's be quite frank, without being too rude, you're not Mrs. Right either. So there's something about whether you two are both committed together to work in the space to want to make it right for both of you. And it's about accepting your flaws and working with them rather than trying to put someone onto a pedestal which they're ultimately going to fall down on. And I feel sorry for people in modern day, online building relationships, because it's so difficult because there's so much choice, and actually what's going on is is there a better person just around the corner? So you're never completely happy with the person because maybe. And if you do that, you have, as Barry Schwartz talks about, this paralysis of choice. And so it is with the agency-client relationship as well. There is so much choice out there. And actually, what I think is really important to recognize is that, every agency is full of really good people. And actually, agencies react differently with different people and different clients. So in other words, how do you get the best out of that agency is as much to do with how you come into that relationship. Because that same agency has probably had some caustic, toxic relationships, and it's also had some brilliant relationships. And likewise, the clients have had some brilliant relationships with certain agencies and some really bad relationships with other agencies, because there's something about the two coming together, working together. And that's why I think actually this whole thing, we talk about chemistry meetings, but I think it's much more about, do we align together? I'm not talking about soulmates particularly, but do we share the same values, the same beliefs, the same ethics? Do we have the same attitudes towards communications? Are we both in the same space? Or are we sort of diametrically misaligned? So many times I see where a client tries to go to an agency to become a different type of relationship, and it never works because they've got the whole corporate, structure behind them which stops them being the agency-client relationship which they really want to move into. So the reality is that both parties need to work at this to get to have that quality of relationship and be okay that it's going to have bumps, like every relationship is going to have bumps in the ground. But if you're committed to it, you're going to make it work. And the final thing is about how do you know you've got the right person, the right sort of agency, the right client? Look back at past behaviour. Look, we all live in patterns of behaviour. So the reality, if you want to know what somebody's going to do next month, look at what they did last month, because we live in patterns. So in other words, we should really be looking at what is the work that agency has done before for that type of category. And you'll see that stuff. And vice versa. What is the work that the client has produced as well? Because again, there's a very likelihood that that's going to be a similar trajectory. Not totally, but I'm just saying that gives you some idea of that space. But you know, the fundamental thing is you've got the right partner if you think you're the right partner, if you've got the mindset that we're going to make this work. If you decide that you're always looking over the shoulder of the next agency, then you've already started on the wrong road.